Please consider supporting Black Women United YEG for the protection and advancement of black women and girls in Alberta. You can learn more about them at bwunited.ca. They are always looking for donations and volunteers. So please, again, support Black Women United YEG for the protection and advancement of black women and girls in Alberta. Again, that website is bwunited.ca.
Creative control, creative control. Comedy, art, and sometimes rock and roll. Let's do a public opinion poll. Raise your hand if you love creative control. 'Cause when Vish is unleashed, well, sorry, I didn't see you there. I was just working on a tribute song to my favorite podcast, Creative Control, with Vish Khanna. My name is Matthias, and I play in a band called The Burning Hell, but more importantly, I support Creative Control on Patreon, and I think you should too. Quality long-form arts journalism is like a magical talking unicorn. It definitely exists, but it can be really hard to find. Fortunately for us, Vish makes it easy with hundreds of funny, thought-provoking, well-researched and engaging interviews with artists from all over the world. Your flexible monthly donation on Patreon will get you plenty of special exclusive treats and help Vish keep his podcast well-fed and cared for properly, the way a magical unicorn deserves.
To make your flexible monthly donation to Creative Control, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control today.
Now the popular imagination trolls the Amazon, saves our information. Now our passwords grow with the grassroots know. All the best roots get to it faster. In our dreams we're traveling, but all our luggage is strewn on the tarmac. Want my bags back, want my bags back. Trade our tickets for a Coke and a jetpack.
Christine Fellows is a multi-talented and gifted musician, visual artist, songwriter, producer, singer, and animator based in Winnipeg, Manitoba. For some 30 years, Fellows has been a public creator and performer, releasing 8 full-length albums and collaborating with an eclectic array of musicians, dancers, visual artists, and filmmakers, including friends like Sherry Boyle and members of the Weaker Thans like Jason Tate, and her husband, who is best known as John K. Sampson, with whom she has a new label and arts imprint. It's called Vivat Virtute, and on November 25th, 2022, it brings us Stuff We All Get, a beautiful new Christine Fellows album and batch of complimentary stop-motion animation films, which must be heard and seen to be believed and truly appreciated. Christine returns to this show to discuss things like our hardy lives in the chilly prairies, the making of Stuff We All Get, and how she and her husband got into some stop-motion animation and weaving skills, respectively, during the pandemic. The motion picture Jaws, crowdsourcing for help and information, the pros of technology and the cons of hard drives, pet politics, gardening, and spiders, her husband's new name and updates on his creative endeavors, their future plans, and much more. A part of the Entertainment One network with the support of listeners like you who follow and subscribe to this podcast and spread the word about it, and make flexible monthly donations at patreon.com/Creative Control, with additional support from Blackbird Music, a well-stocked record store with locations in Edmonton and Calgary, Alberta, and friendly staff who will happily help you source special orders or get things in to the stores or in your hands. Whatever you need, just head over to blackbird.ca. Say you want Stuff We All Get by Christine Fellows. Go to blackbird.ca, type it in, see if you can't get it. I bet you can. Thank you, Blackbird Music. Plus in-kind support from Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee, respectively, in Guelph, Ontario, and Grandad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario. This is episode 735 of Creative Control, featuring the ingenious and generous Christine Fellows, with your host, me, Vish Khanna.
Give us patience, give us grace, give us peace, give us space.
Hi, Christine. How's it going?
Aw, Vish, it's so nice to talk to you again. It's been a really long time.
Yes, I'm not keeping track, but I mean, I assume the last time we had a formal chat was the last time you probably put out a record, which was when again?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was, it was like 4 years ago, which is perfectly within the realm of not being weird.
It was an Olympics ago. That used to be when I was younger. The Olympics would happen every 4 years, right? So this is our Olympics.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love that.
I think it's every 2 years now. Am I crazy or did the Olympics get confusing? Do you follow the Olympics?
I do not, but I like the idea of this being our Olympics.
Yes.
So now I guess I do follow the Olympics. Our Olympics.
Our specific Olympics. It's nice to see you and hear from you again. Where in the world are you today?
I'm just in my little studio here in Winnipeg, and it's a beautiful, whatever, like perfect -12. Mm-hmm. Little bit of snow, almost enough to ski. So we're good over here. How about you over there?
I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, which I don't know. Well, I think you know that because we corresponded. But my family and I left Ontario at the end of 2019, and we're here in Edmonton, and probably very similar weather conditions. I haven't really been outside. Well, I guess I did go outside to take my kids to school, but I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, so things are fine. It's funny moving. The other day I said out loud, I would never have said this in Ontario. My kids were like, are we walking to school or are we going to drive to school? I said, it's only -20. Let's walk. Only -20.
Awesome.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For those.
No, I know what you're saying. It means you finally have the clothes.
Yeah.
All it is clothes. It's not anything other than if you have the right gear, you can go outside in anything.
It's true. I think it is a philosophical and psychological shift, though, too, because I think in Ontario, we'd be like, it's -20. We're definitely driving.
Yes.
And my kids, for those listening around the world, this is Celsius, by the way. So -20 is cold. It is cold. It's no doubt about it. Anything around -20, you're starting to think, I'm not going to go do the thing that someone asked me to do. Is that fair, Christine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even here in Winnipeg,
Yeah.
we're, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, weather is not that interesting, but it is a part of prairie life, I suppose. And
It's a big part.
Yeah.
And it's it is the thing that I feel like maybe now that you're a prairie person, we sort of take a little bit of pride in that we can handle it,
Yeah.
the super hot and the super cold. It makes us who we are. It's the fabric of our art making and our community, the way we behave in our community and how we look out for each other and all that. So it is important.
Yeah, I think that I've expressed this to people who live in places like you're describing, you and I are in, and also places that are remote. Because I'd often go to St. John's, Newfoundland, and discover that everyone was amazing at something. And I realized whatever art or creative thing. And I realized it's because they spend a lot of time inside. The weather is not conducive to spending time outside a lot. And so you pick up a guitar or a mandolin or a fiddle or whatever, and you get super good at it because there's nothing else to do really except for watch TV and hang out. So there's a bright side, right? There's a bright side to this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, because you like I know this about you, but you like the craft making, right?
I do. I have to say, I confess to not being the most patient person. So I'm not the fine details person, but I love work. I like working.
Yes.
And solving a puzzle all the time. And music is like that. Songwriting is really just puzzle solving,
Yeah.
I feel like. So when I do something else that's either performance work or making these stop motion videos and things, it's like solving a puzzle. It's really, what better thing for our brains to do? Solve a puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching these stop motion videos that accompany each song. As we're speaking, I haven't seen all of them because I think you're rolling them out about once a week or something like that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Wednesdays
they come out. Yeah. Wednesday is Stop Motion Wednesday for you.
I guess. And then what's the one? There's my partner, John, that does all that. Cause I'm not interested in that side of things, the putting things outside.
Yeah. Putting it online. Yeah.
But he also has a thing on Fridays where he puts out animals, pictures of animals. that he knows. Not just random animals, but animals that he knows and that he makes crafts for.
Oh, animals he's friends with, not stranger animals.
No, not just random internet animals, actual animals.
All I was going to say to bring up the videos and allude to this beautiful new album. It's swag, but it's stuff we all get. It's an expression. What are you calling the record when you speak to people about it? Do you call it swag or do you call it stuff we all get?
I call it stuff we all get, I guess, because I feel like it is both swag and stuff we all get. So maybe it's better to use all. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It's an acronym. It's an acronym, right? Swag is an acronym, but it's also an attitude. If you've got swag, so that's the only reason I asked. In hip hop, you've got, or you used to. It's probably passé now, but you would have swag, and but it also stood for stuff we all get, which I always found. I guess swag was short for swagger, but then it's confusing. Anyway, all this to say, you've called the record "Stuff We All Get," but there's a song called "Swag," right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Which is again stuff we all get. Beautiful record. I love it so much. So congratulations on it. It sounds wonderful and adventurous. I love the sound of it, and I want to dig into it with you. But I alluded to the videos because they're beautiful. And my understanding is you created these lovely stop motion videos yourself. And I was thinking about our times together, and to me, and forgive me if I've forgotten something, this was a relatively new and revelatory skill set of yours that I didn't know about. How long have you been engaged with this sort of art making, stop motion video, animation, that sort of thing?
Oh, kind of probably around the time that you moved from Guelph to Edmonton is when I started like in earnest. So it hasn't been that long, but but collage has been a big part of my songwriting practice, which is a weird thing to say, or my research, just kind of collecting images, because images, I don't know, they've always been something that I like to have beside me or as just part of the process. It's not just music, and not that music isn't enough, but yeah. So collage was like a big part of my research process. And then I was working on a project with this choreographer, and she was using just some of my collages that I had made as inspiration for the movement. And when we were in rehearsal, she just turned to me and she's like, "What if they move?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" They are moving. The dancers are becoming the collages and responding to them. But she's like, "No, what if they moved? What if the collages moved?" So that's when the light, both the lights in our minds went on. And then I just was like, "Of course they move. Of course they move." Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if I gave you specificity. We moved at the end of 2019. You're saying you've really only been exploring the stop motion aspect of this for the last 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, totally.
That's remarkable. It looks beautiful. Like the videos, I've been watching them on the Vimeo. I think they're on the YouTube and Instagram or something.
Hey, you're such a dad. On the YouTube.
I'm humorously articleizing things, but yeah, the Vimeo is a higher end video platform. Is all I was trying to specify. They look wondrous. So that's a thing that I've encountered a lot and engaged in myself in this time of weirdness. It's not just climate or weather. People are staying inside a bit more and picking up skills. It sounds to me like this was one of your primary things, was to like, I've never really done this before. Someone suggested it. I'm going to figure this out. Have you been, and getting better and better at it, I'm guessing. That's what that's one of your big projects for the pandemic, if you will?
Well, yeah, and it was weird because it started before the pandemic, so literally it was going to be just within the confines of this one project of like, what if you made some short film, stop motion, whatever sequences for this project, and then the world shut down, and I was sitting at my collage table, and then it just started escalating, and I wasn't just like with my iPhone taped to a mic stand anymore. I went and got an actual camera and some gear and some help, because we always forget when you're learning something, the best resource is there's somebody in your community that knows how to do that thing. And people love to share their knowledge. And so, yeah, I got some help.
Everyone needs help. There's also like YouTube. I know I was big upping the Vimeo, but the YouTube also has a lot of people helping each other, which I assume, do you ever partake of like, I don't know how this audio thing works, or I can't figure this out. Does someone know? Because I frequently do this. Like anything. I took apart my washing machine once in Guelph. I'm not handy, but I watched a 2-minute YouTube video because I was like, why is this happening? And it's not to bore you, but it was like something with the door thing. There's a thing in the door and it tells the machine to spin. It's like a security thing, but it also, if it's not pressed properly, the thing won't spin. And something happened, and I didn't know that. I'll just confess to you. It's like a little mechanism that's in the door. So I watched what happened? My wife put a thing in the washing machine, like a comforter, and it broke the washing machine. Too heavy, and it broke the mechanism. So I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, I got to call a guy. 2-minute YouTube video, bought the part, which was like $50. I took a whole washing machine apart myself based on a YouTube video. That's not me. If you told me I could do that, I'd say I can't do that. I'm not handy. I can't do that. Anyway, I've really digressed here. Did you have to watch like instructional videos about stop motion animation or anything like that?
Mostly the editing. Editing was the like it's not the making of, and I feel like this applies. I'm happy to see that I always refer to it as just like making a demo. My favorite thing in music is making a demo, because demos have this quality that the final recording doesn't have. They have this, that you can hear the person discovering and trying and experimenting. And I feel like for me, stop motion, totally that. It's all about just experimenting. What happens if I put water on this? What happens if I shoot this through glass? What happens if I move this thing? What happens if I change the focus on the camera? And like all the stuff, as long as you're not afraid to turn dials and do all that stuff. But yes, sometimes you get backed into a corner, you're stuck. Yeah. And then you have to call on the expert, who's some guy on YouTube.
Right.
It's usually a guy.
It's often, I don't know why is that? Why do you think that is? Is it is often dudes saying, here's how you do a thing, which on the one hand is good. I like that they're like, I have it with the audio editing. I'm like, this audio sucks. How do I enhance and fix it? I'll shout him out right now. There's a guy, I think he's from England. His name's Mike Russell. He's great. He's great. And mostly he's a little fast. He's a little too fast for me sometimes, but he's really good. There's people like this. It helps. It helps us all. So no, it's good. Someone tells you, why don't you get your collages to move? And you're like, I feel like you were like, I guess. And then you do it. What was that sensation like of, like whole new world has just opened up? What was that like for you?
Oh yeah, it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. And at the beginning, well, I didn't have a lot of materials. Now I'm, fully trolling all the used bookstores and the thrift stores, and I'm looking for the print quality of the images that I want, and it also is just kind of it's a bit like a treasure hunt. Mm-hmm. So you find some interesting imagery, and then you think, what am I going to make out of this? And when pandemic hit and we couldn't go to the thrift store, we couldn't do anything, I was looking around my own house and seeing what's here, what can I use? And that's like the cardinal first rule of art making of any kind is like, where am I and what is here?
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing, and we employ it. So I feel like in our lives, it's something maybe we do now, but we historically haven't really employed that as much. It's more like, it's just the elemental idea of just making some weird thing when you don't know what you're making. Yeah.
I feel like people like you, certainly, me sort of. Well, I've been in this game a long time and have made and done different things. I think people like you and I who have had the experience of making things, when we see what other people make, I don't know about you, but I often see the work. I often see how much work went into something. When you hear a song and you're like, oh my God, there's so many layers to this song. I can't help but think of the work that went into it. I see your stop motion videos, and I had that thought, the effort, was this art? I wonder how arduous this was for Christine. I just have these, it's just the way my brain is wired, I guess. Was it tough? Was it much? particularly for you compared to building a record? Because I think you were drawing some parallels between making a song, a demo, and this process. Did you see parallels between them, or would you say stop motion is way harder than anything you've done? Like, can you speak to those things?
Yeah, well, I was actually doing them at the same time. So I was sort of experimenting with the idea of what if I start creating a visual world and then I write the song to support it. So it wasn't, I was just making videos for the songs. It was kind of, they were happening at the same time, making these worlds.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the songs often start with just some weird sound that I like. Sometimes it's just like a broken instrument and it makes one really interesting sound. Okay, that's the beginning. Here we go. We got a thing that makes a weird sound.
Yeah.
And then what's the visual? So it is, those kind of moments of inspiration are amazing. But yes, the stop motion is, because I've done, been recording music for, however many million years, it's not, it still can be very tedious. Like when you're just experimenting, like especially when I'm doing backup vocals, I'm just trying shit, just making weird noises and seeing what, like I don't go in and chart it and have an idea of like exactly, just making weird noises.
Yeah.
But with the stop motion, it's like, oh, I've just shot this entire thing and the light was weird or something was wrong and you have to reshoot the whole thing. Like that kind of stuff was a bummer.
Yeah, the process. I know it's hard to quantify how long it would take someone to write and record and arrange and build a song. Could you put a figure on how long it takes you to make one of these? I know it would, sorry, I will qualify this by saying I recognize it probably is a case-by-case situation. Every video is different. Could you put hours to an average hour amount to the process of building, making one of these videos, rather?
It's embarrassing. Well, Swag the video, Swag, for that song, I used that one as a bit of a learning curve, and I was shooting for that one. Was the only time I think where I shot using a tripod facing, like shooting something that's like on the wall, like I was shooting into the piano, whereas mostly I'm shooting straight down onto a table, which is it's way easier to control your rectangle, as I call it. Your rectangle that's on a flat plane that is not moving is great. Mm-hmm. But when you're trying to shoot in the piano and you're changing the scenes and you're trying to set up shots, so I found that very, very, like, I'm not a shooter,
yes.
Yeah. And so that's where I learned a lot, and that's where I got some help, some mentorship. And that one took me like months, actually. It took me months.
Months. Okay.
Yeah.
Not hours.
But some of them will take, no, months. It was months. I mean, not all day, every day.
Yeah.
Well, John might say otherwise. My husband, he'd be like,
you get obsessed with editing, don't you? I find that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Particularly if it's something where I tried to get into little bits of video editing just to augment the audio. It's so much work. I can't believe the syncing of the audio with the visual and all that stuff. And like, oh, it's a little off. And I hate it. I mean, I liked it when I was done. I'm like, oh, this was really fun. And people respond to it. But my God, it's hard.
Yeah, it's a time suck.
Yeah.
But I think for me, part of my training maybe came from, I do, as another sort of thing that I do often is sound design for films and stuff, which is incredibly tedious.
Yeah.
Like it is, you're creating every sound, like the sound of someone walking, or like, what does that sound like? Trying to figure out what something is, and if you can't find it, you have to make the sound. Like making weird sounds on microphones.
Yeah, you are at least in the milieu of making weird sounds, syncing them to visuals. So that gave you a bit of a head start, I guess, is what you're saying?
Yeah, or just the idea of slowing down and knowing it's going to take, like, it's not happening. You have to, be patient or walk away. And the great thing, pandemic, there was no other real distractions.
I think there. I don't know about you, but I feel it in myself. I'm fighting to stave those distractions off as much as I can, so I can continue.
Absolutely.
Do you feel that way?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yet fighting it. I mean, it's hard this time. This is the first time I put out a record and not played shows, and it was very intentional. I mean, I would have had to start booking it last year, and just the way things were going, I don't want to put any musician in that position. And just the idea of also, I've done the thing where on past tours where you miss a show because of weather, or like the pass gets closed and you're like, boo, there goes your show. And that's like
money and
money. Yeah. So I just thought I don't want to, I don't want to do that after, booking a tour is so tedious as it is. So.
Yeah.
But I do miss it. It feels a little bit like I'm in a weird empty spot right now, where usually the songs they turn into something else when you just bring them together with a bunch of people in a room. And I miss my friends, hanging out with those dorks. They're so lovely. And
I wonder if you had this mindset as you were making this record, because as I listened to it, you have alluded a few times to weird sounds. And I feel like it's really a studio-oriented creation, if you will. The distinction I'm making is sometimes people, even like yourself, will make a record and know that you have to represent this thing on stage. So if you've got a hurdy-gurdy and a harp, and like you're going to have to figure out ways to do that on stage when you don't have those things. This to me seems, I can hear like Jason Tate, among other people, just playing things that are a little unusual. And I wonder if you could even bring them on stage with you. So again, back to my question, was your mindset in making this record similar to what it is now? I may not bring this to the stage, so I might as well just have fun and play things that I don't have to represent, I guess, on stage. Did you have that mindset making this record, that maybe I won't tour?
I can't say that I consciously did that, but certainly it was really when we first started. Jason, of course, is always my sort of first collaborator with the songs. Is like, I make all the farm animals and he builds the barn to put them in, kind of like. So, and it was just kind of this lovely thing of even though he lives here in Winnipeg and we live fairly close by, I would like send things to him and he would record them as an idea and send it back to me. And it was just like, and he's always so creative and just a total weirdo. Like there are just some of them when he sent them back, I just laughing my head off. There's some of them that I'm just like, oh my God, what is going on in there? And his brain is very funny that way. But when we finally got some of them, we actually did play together in the studio, in a studio later. And that was also just really great to just, I get to sit here and play music with my friend. And like, I love watching him play. I love watching all of them play, but it's just this beautiful thing. Like maybe I appreciated more just having the presence of people, even though, not everyone, like one of the cellists she recorded in Toronto, she didn't even come. I didn't see her. And so that was, hard, but everyone else was in the building. I got to see their faces while they're playing their things. And yeah, so it wasn't so much the instrumentation, but I did try to hire as many people as I could because, pandemic and all, and everyone could use the dough. And so I tried to spread it around as much as I could. And that Christine Bougie, oh my God.
Oh, Christine's amazing. Old friend of mine, and I love her work so much. I was happy to. And how did you actually connect with Christine? I mean, she knows everybody, so I assume you might have crossed paths that way. But how did you actually connect?
Oh, I guess I met her, when she was touring with Jason and when he was with Bahamas, and they were both playing with Bahamas. And we met, and she had just, I think it was Jason that said, hey, if ever you need a musician, you should. And so she played on my last record a little wee bit on a couple tunes, and then after that, and played some shows with us, which was so terrific. Like, she's just what a force, and such her ideas are always, they come fully formed. I do very little editing with her stuff, whereas most of us, I'm like editing myself, especially just taking things off, but she just makes a choice, and it's always wow. Yeah, she's amazing. For
those listening who may not be familiar, I think of Christine as first of all, like an out of this world guitar player, but that extends into pedal steel and slide guitar. Have I missed anything, Christine?
Yeah, she did. On this one, she was like doing the lap steel
Lap
was
steel?
her
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And her, it's just extraordinary what she can do with that instrument.
Absolutely. So you and I, in the course of our chat so far, have been talking about various kinds of technology. And as I ponder this song, various kinds of technology, but I also think human dynamics have come up in our conversation a little bit. People making things, people taking risks. And I hear some of those things in your lyrical expression here. The nature of our existence with technology, the nature of how we interact with each other, how we view ourselves even. And I don't know if I'm way off the mark with that. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about the lyrical themes on Stuff We All Get in an overarching sense, because I feel like they're coming from a particular place on the one hand, but I also imagine over the course of a dozen or so songs, you go in all sorts of directions. But do you have an overarching sense of what these songs are sort of about?
Well, I'll say this. It was the first time I went into something where the thing that was going to be holding the songs together as a unit was just the fact that they would all have a visual complement, like a visual element to them.
Yeah.
So that was enough of a theme, because often I do research-based work or like thematically linked things. I like linking connections between songs. But this one, I just sort of let myself write what I wanted to write. And I have resisted in the past sort of talking more about contemporary things like the internet and all that stuff. I never want to write about it. It just feels gross, because I think the internet looks gross, and I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it because it's gross.
Yeah.
But because it maybe, like you're right, because of the time that I was writing in, and that was the world, and I was working a lot in the digital, like I was hooked up to headphones and lights and cameras and all the things, like I was fully employing, and hard drives come up a bit in the piece, in the songs, because hard drives are a big part of it. Like, everything is on this.
Yeah, I've got a couple of them
thing.
going right now. I don't want to touch them because I don't want to. The other thing with the hard drive is, and I hear it a little bit in the way you even talk about them, is this: they're inherently traumatic, because if they fail, your memories and your work are gone. Even though, like you write about, they flicker, the lights are on, everything seems to be working, but it's all gone. It won't work. You can't access anything. You got to take them to a person who will hopefully help you, and they say, oh, it's fried, it's gone. You're like, I put everything in this brain, and the brain died. And is this close to what you're getting to a little bit with some of these songs?
Oh yeah. Totally. You're just laying on me.
Yeah,
like,
well, that's
I've
we are I've been sort of a technological being since as long as I can remember. We had a computer in the house as soon as we could get one. I remember my dad bought a VCR in like 1983 and was showing me. I don't think he should have been doing it. I was only 6 or 7. But Jaws. Scared. I don't swim. Christine, I don't swim because of Jaws. I saw Jaws when I was so young. I don't swim. I can't swim. I refuse to learn how to swim. They put me in swimming lessons. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't like it. Anyway, my point is technology now, I'm talking about VCRs. How old am I? The technology now, like you said, the pandemic really made us more aware of how tied to this stuff we are, and how both, galvanizing and isolating it is. And I hear that a lot on a few of these songs. So do you know what, I guess you've answered it. I've long known that you try to avoid the internet. You don't have a lot of, do you have, I feel like you just now, somebody started a social media channel for your new label Imprint. Is that right?
Just John. It's just John and me. It's nothing fancy. It's basically like just the stuff that he and I make in our house. He's weaving now. That's his thing.
I see.
But
what's the name of the imprint again?
Vivat Virtute.
Right.
So we've named ourselves after a fictional cat that John invented. But we're dog people, really.
That cat is not going anywhere, man. That cat has been around in John's world for what? Decades. Yeah. He loves that
Decades.
cat.
Yeah. And yet we don't have a cat. There is no Virtute. That cat is, we have a dog. His name's Apollo.
Did you say Paulo or Apollo?
Apollo.
Apollo.
He came with that name.
I see.
Yeah.
How's Apollo?
He's good. But in pandemic, we lost our, well, we didn't lose her. She passed away. Why did I say she passed away? She died.
What's
Our dog
what's the
died.
distinction?
I don't know. I just feel like the euphemism. It's like, nah, she actually died. She didn't like,
But-
she didn't
does
go
any-
away.
but
We
does-
didn't lose her.
No, go away is different. Passed away, I think we all understand is dead. Sorry.
Yeah, she-
sorry. There's no.
Our dog died.
I'm sorry.
And our freaking bird died. Remember, I remember the
yes.
last time
Yes.
we spoke, you were telling me about Buddy.
Yes.
Your budgie.
Yeah.
And we had a budgie, and we had him he died right before the pandemic.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's horrible. What was the bird?
Yeah.
What was your bird's name?
Pickles.
Oh, yes, Pickles, of course. That is weird.
And he would-
Did you know?
Yeah.
This is very strange. I had Mike Belitsky and Travis Good on from the Sadies to talk about the Sadies record, and that was profound and tough in lots of ways. But we tried to have the fun that we normally have when we gather. And among the fun things, depending on your point of view as a listener, is that Travis lives on a farm and they have animals, but they some farm animals, but they also have a parrot who is very loud and vociferous, named, get this, Mr. Pickles.
No.
Mr. Pickles
That's
is
amazing.
all over the episode, and I tried, occasionally I would take him out. I would fade Travis down while Mike was talking, but sometimes I'd leave him in because it was just so ridiculous. And whenever Travis spoke, you'd hear like, quack, quack, like you just hear this emphasized.
Aw.
Yeah. Anyway, that is bizarre
That's
to me that you
marvelous.
both. I forgot about Pickles, your budgie. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
appreciate you remembering Buddy, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. I love animals. We don't have any here. It's
No, nothing I was going to ask. Nothing
I-
for the kids,
I'm
eh?
a cat. Don't lay a guilt trip on me about the children. I
Did you teach them to swim at least? As long
Yes.
hopefully they know how to
yes,
swim.
they were. Well, in
Okay.
Guelph, we've still been a bit hunkered down here because the thing goes up and down, and the safety, and they're routinely
Right.
my children would tell me, guess what? Only 11 kids in class today. This week,
Wow.
like until this week, they finally it's up around 18, 20 again, but more kids wearing masks again. Like they're, it's up and down. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. My point is, I haven't got the animals yet because I'm being the parent that's like, if you can just show me that you can be responsible for cleaning your room, then you can, because they're going to we want a dog. We had a cat. My wife and my son and I all had a cat. But Gary passed away just before Ramona was born, and my daughter. And I don't like replacing animals. I feel like I have trouble with it. The people who buy the same breed of dog to replace the hole in their heart, I've always struggled. Like, I can't just do it. My parents did that to me with Buddy, actually. And that actually...
They didn't.
Well, we had a bird that they got from the Woolco, and then it died within like a month. And then we were so upset. It was a sick bird or something. It died, and we were feeding it, I think. I don't know. I was a kid. Anyway, then they got a new bird because we were so sad within like 2 days. And morbidly, it had the same name, Buddy, which a lot of people do. They name the animal the same as the last one, and it looks the same. And I find it now, as I'm older, I find it creepy. My son is
except that Buddy he became a very close friend of yours for many, many, many years.
No, the second Buddy and I were very close, and he loved me the best. We talked about this, I remember now. And I loved him, and I don't regret a thing of it. But I also didn't want to replace my cat right away because Gary was very special. I taught him to sit on command. Very smart cat.
Wow.
Yeah, he's good. He was raised with a dog, and I think he saw that when the dog sat, he would get a treat. And so Gary's like, oh, I get what's going on here. So I was like, hey, Gary, sit. And he would do it. And I would give him a little treat. And I was like, this is very strange. I don't like replacing the things that quickly. My son, it turns out, is actually allergic. My son and wife are allergic to cats.
Oh, no.
They kind of want a dog. And I'm like, really? If you can just if we can all just be a little more responsible, yes. I don't want to be a curmudgeon parent. I'm just telling you, it's a lot of work. And we've all seen it. Parents, okay, I got you the animal. Now I got to take care of it. I got to tell the one that takes it for the walk. They say they're not going to do anything. Anyway, Christine, really wild tangent. I'm sorry. let's get back. I think you were trying to get me to not talk about the lyrics, and I saw what you were doing there. You distracted me. You have some very astute lyrics about your take on technology. I love the moments in swag like these ones. In our dreams, we're in the exit row slumping over our table trays like dominoes. Give us feedback. Send a screenshot. :bracket. Take a 10-minute survey. I love : bracket. I love it. I love the literal nature of you dealing with emojis. That was my take on it, or whatever. So you are, I think, immersed in technology, but you don't like it as a human. Is that about right?
Well, it's weird. It's weird because for me, technology has been such an important part of me as a recording artist, which is a weird thing to say, but call yourself a recording artist. Recording artist Christine Fellows. Just because it was the first time I was able to work by myself, like produce my own work as a producer.
Yes.
And pretty much everything when I started playing music was still, my second record was on tape, reel-to-reel tape. And you had to go to the studio, and the studio is populated by mostly dudes.
Yeah.
And I felt as a young woman uncomfortable in that situation. And it wasn't like the people were trying to make me uncomfortable. I was just uncomfortable. You're told as a young woman, like, that you shouldn't make like weird or gross sounds, and you should, I don't know, like I was raised that way. We were all raised that way back in the day. And so for me to be able to have technology when we were able to have our own recording technology in your house with a door that you could close and you could just make weird sounds and experiment. And so technology for me it's been so huge.
Yeah.
Like it's just done so much. Like I have to be grateful for it. However, I do feel, like you said, about the idea about everything living in a hard drive is terrifying to me. And I have lost things in a hard drive, which is maybe why it's lodged in my mind as a point of fear.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It's and so I'm the compulsive, like I have a drawer friggin' full of these. Everything's backed up on this and that.
Yeah.
And that it's
Doubles.
just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, you're also getting into the way we live with this culture in terms of the bizarre metric-based existence we have and I think you've probably done from what I gather, unless you're a lurker and have these burner accounts or something, you seem like someone who's done a really conscious thing in terms of not being a part of the likes and the follows and the retweets and the sharing. I assume because you've identified these as a weirdly unhealthy aspects of how we're measuring our own worth. But I also see it in songs where we are being collated. Our data is being collected. We are data points to some of these entities. So beyond the technology that you've embraced, I feel like you're being critical of not just the internet, but just how we are all sort of measuring ourselves up against impossible metrics, like impossible yardsticks of feeling good about ourselves based on who we are, what we make, how we do things. Is that in there somewhere?
Oh, for sure. Because I remember, certainly I was touring before the internet.
Yes.
Well, there was an internet, I'm sure, before when but I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
But I have been told by others who have come into playing music and doing whatever art making in the internet age that I have, I guess, a sort of luxury in that I don't have to participate. Like, I feel like people don't feel like they have a choice.
Yeah.
That you have to participate, and that me making a choice not to is a luxury. I'm not by any stretch a popular or well-known musician. So that always struck me as odd, of being like, well, it's a choice. I'm making a choice. But I also recognize that I made a lot of my work connections or relationships I made outside of the internet, before there was internet, or so it's just a way this is how we meet and fall in love now. And it's not a weird thing. It's just, that's how people meet and fall in love.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
social media. So I've never, I have never been part of that. And it's always felt wrong to me. Also, it's just how much time do you want to sit in front of a screen, Unless you're talking to Vish. I'm happy to sit in front of a screen and talk to Vish. But it's like, talking to a pal is lovely.
Yeah.
But we work on these things all the time.
Yeah.
And
No, I
why am I going to...
100%. I'm in this office and I'm looking at this computer most of the day when I'm not trying to deal with the life stuff, like the real life stuff, the children and the eating and the whatever. So I agree with you. It is a weird time and we're struggling a little bit. So I feel like you've captured that. I wanted to ask you about the juxtaposition of all that technology that I'm talking about with some of the more natural metaphors or imagery, because there's gardens and trees and some of those things that you have explored in the past in terms of family dynamics and whatnot. So I don't want to paint. I'm saying this because I want the listener to know that it's not all computers. It's like, what else is there? Was that a purposeful juxtaposition for you to talk about having a garden, playing solitaire, like having these kind of intimate moments with people and sort of more earthy earthy times to oneself?
Well, I don't know if it was intentional, but it's certainly the way that I live my life.
Yeah.
And like the garden, that song, it's just a weird, short little song, is actually basically a retelling of a letter I got from my aunt, my dad's sister, who I have not known. She got married very young and moved out into the middle of nowhere with her husband, and she's been there, like had very limited contact with the outside world, but she's lived this rich life through her garden all of these years, for like 50 years in a garden, living in a garden. And she just wrote me this beautiful letter describing everything in her garden. And I just was like, that is amazing. I only want to communicate with people by them telling me what is in their garden. Like what a beautiful thing to express, right?
Yeah.
I think certainly I know that I'm not the only person that in the pandemic like got eye level to the dirt. I found myself being really drawn in. I made friends with spiders, which normally I'm scared of spiders, but I had two pretty big pets, like call them pet spiders. I just fed them, and
What do you feed a spider?
You feed them bugs.
You would harvest? Because I thought the whole job of the spider when it gets up every day is I got to find... She, sorry. Yeah. What did I said they? Did I say a she? I didn't mean to... I said they. It. Whatever. The she. I said it. You said she. So the spider, she gets up every day. And I feel like the job is just to get food. I've been thinking about this a lot. Imagine being a shark. It's got to suck. Everyone's like, oh, sharks, so majestic. You get up, and the first thing you got to be is like, what am I eating today? And it's not like you go to the store. You got to be like, is there food around? I got to go find it. Spider's the same, right? You help the spider.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, because
no. They're gross, but it's cool. Like, it's also, they're quite extraordinary the way, like, it's very creative. They're very creative.
Absolutely. I love spiders. I had a good talk with our mutual friend, Stephen Lamke, about spiders when we were talking about his new record, Volcano, because I kept hearing spiders come up. And I was, I glommed onto it as like spiders as a kind of a symbol of our more industrious personality traits as creators. Because spiders are interesting. Anyway, I already had this conversation about spiders. This is not for you. But I just find it interesting that spiders make these beautiful things, but they also lure you in. And I feel like art can do that a little bit too. And I can't remember if Steve bought my line of thinking on the master's thesis I was working on about his record, but I had this like weird theory. Anyway, you've got birds, you've got crows and chickadees, there's dirt. So all I was getting, and now you're telling me your feet. By the way, do you just sit and stare at the spiders as they're eating just to see what it's like? Do you ever do that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I had two living on either side. Well, for a while, it was just one on the inside our house, which isn't popular with my husband. Was a little bit like, does the does he have to live in here in the house, the spider? But I was like, yeah, no. And the spider didn't move around. It just stayed in, like, if the spider was crawling around, like trying to crawl in our mouths while we were sleeping, like the spider would have been outside.
Yes, of
But
course.
it wasn't. It
Yeah.
was just staying. And so when I would come in the morning after I'd been pulling things from the garden, I would save the bugs and throw them into the spider web. And she'd come out and, like, it was always such a grand entrance. You throw something in the spider web, an aphid or something, and that spider just comes. Like, they just, and it's so fast and amazing, and then disappears.
Is it like a big spider, like the size of, like, well, how big is the spider?
Oh, not like a dock spider. No,
Not like
it
a
was just
tarantula or something. It's like a little spider.
No.
Okay. You
Like,
met-
yeah.
I get it. You're saying that your husband John had some reservations, but the spider.
He wasn't as into it because it was right by the sink. And
Let me
and-
posit this. Do you suppose, given John's recent interest in weaving, it was professional jealousy?
I love that idea.
I don't
It
like
was.
this. I think that's probably what I resent. I don't think that spider's that cool. Check out what I made. I'm going to put it on the Instagram that I control. Yeah, I don't. I bet that's what it is. That's. I think that's it. Speaking of which, this is sort of a dumb side note, but I did make note of something in the language around your record. We know your husband is John K. Sampson, solo artist, weaker than's person. I see here John Sampson Fellows. Is this a recent development, a nominal change?
Yeah, it is. And I think, I mean, it's not, nothing formally has been changed, but I
Okay.
think good for him. It was, yeah, just something that he's been kind of referring to himself as, and I think it's good and healthy, and it's like my last name, and I think it's cool, you know, like.
I hadn't, but am I correct? We haven't, most of us would not have encountered this change until this record. Is that a fair? I just don't know. Maybe I missed something that he put out or something.
Yeah, no, and he hasn't been doing lots of music. It's not that he hasn't been making music. He has, just not at the same kind of output,
Okay.
and not in an album specific kind of way. And yeah, and last year he was pretty sick. Last year, the mental health was pretty bad, and
Oh,
that
I'm
was
sorry to
also, yeah. I mean, it happens, right? And he's, no stranger to it. This is not like the first time in his life. This is not our first rodeo with the mental healthies, but I'll tell you, trying to get mental health assistance and care during a pandemic is, like, anybody that's been trying to navigate that system at the best of times, it's so difficult. So that was, yeah. So I think for him, I think this is just a part of trying to be healthy, and you kind of have to find your way around. And that's part of it, maybe.
Is it too heavy-handed to suggest it's sort of like a rebirth, sort of finding a new kind of agency or something? I don't want to. I wasn't planning to bring this up. It's just you brought him up, and I was thinking about John Fellows Sampson, spider hater. So I just, yeah, it's interesting. I love him so much, as you know, and I love you so much. So I didn't know this. It's hard to check in with everyone.
I know, especially like pandemic time. It was pretty nuts.
Yeah.
But he's doing great now, and so that's good. And yes, he sort of he's got a new name, and he's got he's weaving in the basement.
That's great. And
I'm on the top layer. Music is on the top layer, music and stop mo, and then middle layer of the house is where we go to eat our foods and sit in front of the wood stove, and then the basement is where he has a giant loom. It's hilarious. It has pedals. It's like the size of a piano. It's awesome. It's
now,
beautiful.
Did you reference this? Is that a pandemic related, or rather pandemic era exploration for John?
Yes, before pandemic he'd started knitting, but it bothered his hands. I guess some people, it bothers their hands.
Yeah.
So I think weaving was just sort of, again, him. I feel like it maybe happened the same way with me and the stop motion, that both of us, it just happened, and then pandemic hit, and then of course you just follow.
Yeah.
You're like, well, okay, I guess I'm doing this now.
Yeah, that's what I was getting
Like-
at. I assume it's like I was saying earlier, you pick up a hobby during a time like this, but then it becomes a fixation
Yeah.
of sorts,
Well-
and you want to get better and better and better at it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and he's so into it. And it's also, I do feel like there is something symbolic about like healing your brain and putting, like weaving these strands together like that.
Yeah.
To me is kind of a beautiful physical manifestation of it. And it makes him happy. And it's hilarious and weird, all the weird stuff he's making down there. I was just like, oh, you go down there and it's just balls of yarn and John, John and the balls of yarn.
Yeah, I noticed it on Instagram, some of the wares or creations,
Yes.
I should say. I don't know if they're wares per se, but yeah, it sounds very interesting. And I should say, for people wondering why this has even come up, John appears on the record. I mentioned the liner notes as being his name has changed. He sings with you on a song. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's called The Rain. Is that correct?
Yeah. And only one. And it's usually like last record, he co-produced with me and he played a lot and he played live. He came on tour and he was playing bass, which is great because he doesn't play bass a lot and I know he enjoys it. And it was great. It was fun. And this time, because he was not having a good health situation, like he would come to the studio and kind of lie on the floor and I just asked him to come, and because I wrote that song for him, so I was like, if you could just crawl upstairs and sing into your microphone for me so he did that for me, but that's about as much as he could do. But yeah, I missed having him play on there. But we got Christine Bougie, we got Jason Tate, we got Leanne Zacharias, you got Ford Pierre doing the
Ford
string
Pierre as well.
arrangements.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing
Oh, my God.
collection of people. I only wondered, it sounds like you've answered the question I was going to ask is, I think you both traditionally are sounding boards for each other. It sounds like you were a little more on your own for the reasons you described.
He's fighting the battle of his brain, but it was great. It was also great to sometimes have to, I know that it is important to have sounding boards and people that we're very blunt and honest with each other about in the furthering of our writing or whatever we're making or doing. And so he's always there for that. And same goes on the other side, me for him. But it is good every once in a while to have to do something by yourself and go, oh, here I am.
Obviously, I hope he's okay as a human being, and I hope we miss his voice and his work. So hopefully we'll hear from him at some point if he's up for it. All this to say, I appreciate what you've done with this record. It's wonderful. And you mentioned there's not a tour. Will you be doing any shows, even locally or anything like that?
Nothing so far. I just kind of set it aside, and I'm feeling that weird feeling right now that just like I'd have to even relearn how to play the song. Like it's one of those that the only reason I would ever practice is because I'd have to play the songs out live.
Yeah.
So I've been it's so strange. And instead of doing that, I'm relearning how to read music, and I'm just playing Bach, pretty much only Bach on the piano, which I have also wasn't playing for as much for a lot of years because I have really bad osteoarthritis.
Oh no!
Like, look at my hands.
I
oh my
see
God,
that.
they're like monster hands, and they're my grandma's hands actually.
Right.
Which is marvelous because I remember her hands as a kid and seeing them, and they're all misshapen and fingers pointing all everywhere, and I just thought it was so beautiful. Like they were so beautiful.
Yeah.
But I've been playing piano for no reason, and reading music, and reading especially that music is so it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, why wasn't I doing this all the time? Because I was practicing like my songs or someone else's songs. My songs totally suck. Bach is like, it's amazing. Every piece is like, it's mind blowing. It's so I'm practicing for something, but not a show.
You're limbering up. You're keeping your hands and your mind exercised in the event
Yes.
that you may have to play a show. I didn't do this at all, and I feel badly about it. I wanted to express some real gratitude and a thank you to you personally. I don't know if you are the one who put it in the mail, but I didn't know you had a record coming out at all, except a vinyl copy showed up in my mailbox with my address on it. So I had all these, like, I opened it, I'm like, oh my God, a new Christine record. Put it on right away. read the lyrics,
Vish.
listened to it right away. Michelle, we were big fans of yours, so it was great to just our record players in the living room, so everybody heard it who was around, and it was lovely. It was great. All I was going to say is, thank you. I don't know why you thought of me. Well, I know why you thought of me. I'm being self-deprecating. Thank you for sending it to me. Very lovely. In a sense, it's a bit low key. Like, it just seems like I'm starting. I finally got like an official press release from a fella, and that's good. But I think you're bracing yourself by not playing shows for something of a low key, word of mouth kind of press cycle. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah, I'm all like, I love the low key. Low key is where it's at, and it's just a weird, for like this job as whatever it is that I do. It seems so. I just don't like the idea of, I don't know, like that part of it.
Yeah. It's a lot to worry about and think about, and it's one of those distractions I think we were alluding to earlier, probably, right?
It's a total distraction, and it's sort of upsetting the balance of like the ions or whatever, or ions. So for me, it's just I'm just keeping working and doing others, keeping moving, and like. But I do love the idea of making an album. Like I still think I know that there has been a lot of talk with other musicians about this idea of, do we still make albums? What do we do now? And I still feel like it's a thing.
Yes, absolutely. No,
it's not gone away.
I hope so. I hope that to be the case myself, because I'm still getting records or being gifted records and buying lots of records. So it means a lot to me, and it's tangible and it's real. It's not fleeting.
Yeah.
So I like all aspects of that. So within that, we're at the point of the show where I kind of ask people to plug things.
Okay.
I don't know if you have a Bandcamp or anything like that, but where can people go to learn more about stuff we all get, to hear it, to order it, these sorts of things? Do you know?
Do I know? Yeah.
I said that because I don't know if you know. I think you said John does some of that stuff, but do you know? That's why I didn't mean to be insulting. I was like, you said earlier you may not know, and I didn't want to be insulting, but do you know where to send people to learn more about your new record? Sorry, Christine.
I know. It's pathetic.
No, it's not.
I know.
It's nice. I like it. It's refreshing, because most people are like, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You're just like, I put out a record. Anyway, sorry, I'm putting words in your mouth. Go ahead. Where can people go to learn more about it?
You can go if. Thank you, Vish. You're so sweet. You just go to Vivat Virtute, or like we have our little store, our website, Vivat Virtute, or I have a website. It's just myname.com, ChristineFellows.com. There's that. I know those are internet things.
Yeah,
they're not. But John runs a little Instagram for Vivat Virtute, so that's where you can see each Wednesday when it will put out a new one of those stop motion videos, and it will be on Bandcamp when it's released on the 25th. It'll be on
Bandcamp. Okay, perfect. No, that's great. You had all the things then. You're not some Luddite. You had most of the things. That's great.
I know. I'm just like, oh yeah, I guess we have to put the thing. I don't know. And we it's not. We're trying, Vish. We're trying. We're trying to be like normals.
You are.
Sort of.
I think of you as slightly
totally
strange normals. I feel the same. I'm a strange normal. I feel I'm a normie. A little odd, just a little unusual, and I think maybe we're the same.
Yeah, just don't know how to swim. But who needs that?
I sink like a stone.
You know what?
I'm not buoyant. I've tried. I can't. I sink. I just go. Something about my bone density and my Julie Dworin and I had a good talk about this, because she now is like a lifeguard and has taught swimming, I believe. And I recognize it in myself. I'm too tense. I think when you're tensed up and you're nervous, you're not going to relax. And because they were like, they always tell you that, lie on your back, kick your feet up. And I'm like, no, I can't. I sink. And it's because I'm all wound up. And I don't even know if Julie totally believed or agreed with me, but I'm starting to think that's what it is. Too stressed.
Yeah, but I'm laying the gauntlet and saying, if I can learn how to read music, Like I'm the same way about that. I get all tensed up when I see the notes on the page, and it just seems like
Yes.
work or something. But you can do it. I know that you can.
I'm not.
You can be buoyant.
I'm athletic. I do other things. There's something about swimming that I decided to blame it on the film Jaws. And not to be outdone, Jaws 2. Both of them I saw at a formative time, and they impacted me. They both have the shark. Different sharks. Anyway, sorry. My point is... my point was going to be thank you for being on the show. I want to go out on a song from this new record, and as people are hearing this, it is going to be out. The record, I mean, is going to be out this week, so we're getting close to release date, is what I'm trying to subliminally tell you, Christine, as you decide what song you want to pick, in case there's some things you don't want the public to hear yet, or something like that. Sorry, I'm used to dealing with like major label people who are like, don't play the song before it's out, and I'm like, I just do what the artist says. Anyway, Christine, if we can go out on a song from Stuff We All Get, can you pick one for us and tell us why you chose it?
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you for having me. It's so nice to see your face. I'm just drinking it in. It's just like old friend. It's so lovely, you know?
Absolutely. The feeling is completely mutual. It's very lovely to see you, and I'm glad for all the perils of technology. I like that this was invented for this time, that we can actually interact like we're in the future, like the way spaceship people did in the 80s, where they were like, oh, they're on Star Trek. Oh, you talk to the person on the screen. Now we live in Star Trek. It's great. I'm William Shatner. You're, I don't know who the other person is, but anyway, sorry. Sorry about that.
I don't know.
I can't think of who he used to talk to on that thing. It was often enemies, so I didn't want to follow through on the. It was a weird time at that show. They'd be like, get the enemy on the phone. And the enemy would be like, haha, I am the enemy of you. And we are going to have a FaceTime conversation using Zoom. And you're like, that's very civil that you both were like, okay, what time are we meeting to have the adversarial conversation? Is it 3 p.m.? Okay, we'll get on the thing. Hey, it's the guy. I hate you. But hey, this is anyway, I'm really on doing my stand-up routine on Star Trek and Zoom. I'm sorry.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's good. It's
Thank
good.
you. I appreciate the support and the encouragement from Christine Fellows always. Thank you.
I would go see you at Yuck Yucks.
The only place that would have me with this routine. No, I'm sorry. I've really taken us all over the place. Is there a song that we can go out on? And if so, can you tell us why you chose it?
Okay. Well, it'll be for you,
Oh.
my friend. And it's, how about the last song? It's called Time.
Oh. Now, you say that that's for me in particular?
Yeah, I'm just giving it to you right now.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't write it thinking, oh, Vish, I'm writing this one for Vish, but to be frank.
Right.
No, but all of the things we were talking about, and I think the idea of time and what's important and how we spend our time.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And this is another song with a lot of dirt in it, as I recall, and how time and dirt may be intertwined. Again, I have to revise this part of the thesis I'm writing about your record. This is a running joke because I get into these like levels. I say this to a lot of my guests. I'm writing a master's, but it's kind of, I feel like sometimes I am. I think I am. We're doing a verbal master. It's like a thesis defense. No, it's not.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is true. I'm really babbling. Let's go out on this song now, because I think I'm wasting people's time a little bit. From the beautiful new album, Stuff We All Get, by Christine Fellows, which you should locate immediately using the internet. Here's a song called Time. Christine, I love you very much. I always appreciate the conversation and your indulging my rambling questions and ideas. Thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck in the future, and I hope I see you soon.
Well, yeah, no kidding. Maybe, yeah. We're so close now.
We're closer.
We're closer. 14 hours. So 14 hours.
It's still a trek. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, send my love to Michelle and the kids that I haven't met. And oh my God. I know, it's crazy. And enjoy your time on the prairies. It's good. It's good there. And you're close to the mountains, man. You're just like right there.
Yeah. No, it's all good. I thank you. It means a lot for you to say those things and to welcome me to the prairies that you've called home this whole time. Thank you. I just appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, shall we say goodbye? Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
We got dirt, we got dirt. We got shovels, piles of dirt. We'll dig our way down through the roots and clay. We got time, we got time to move the dirt, to clear our minds. We'll dig our way down through the restless days. Time is the best of the things we waste. We got work, we got love. Turn the earth and pile it up. We'll work our way down through the roots and clay. Time is the best of the things we make.
Oh, it's so nice to have new music by Christine Fellows. You just heard a new song, great new record. Very nice to have Christine back on the show. Thank you so much, Christine, for appearing on this, the 735th episode of Creative Control, which is part of the Entertainment One podcast network and is available wherever you get your podcast. If you can't find an episode that you've heard about and you're looking for it, or if you want to learn more about me, sign up for my monthly newsletter, please visit vishkhanna.com. You can also like Creative Control on Facebook and follow the show on Twitter at Vish Creative, or you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and now Hive at Vish Khanna. I don't know what's going to happen with the Twitter or all social media, but so far, follow me at Vish Khanna. Also, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control to make a flexible monthly donation to support all of the work that goes into making this podcast on a regular basis. $6 American or more grants you access to exclusive content. You get episodes a bit earlier than everybody else, and bonus content, as they say, from some of these. Well, I didn't say that. Bonus content from some of the current episodes, and sometimes I dig into my archives and find things that I think you might find interesting. Somewhere in those archives are some old Christine Fellows interviews, so who knows? Maybe I'll dig into those and present them to you. I don't know. We'll see what I can find on the various flickering hard drives, as we discussed. Anyway, thank you for considering supporting the show. Thank you if you already support the show. And if you're interested in a Creative Control t-shirt, just message me and I will get you one while supplies last. You can do all of those things at patreon.com/Creative Control. Thanks again to the excellent Alberta record retailer Blackbird Music, with locations in Edmonton and Calgary, Alberta. And you can learn more about them and order things from them at blackbird.ca. Also want to thank Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee in Guelph, Ontario, and Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario, for their in-kind support for this show. As always, thanks to my dear friend Jim Guthrie for letting me use music of his on the show. You can learn more about Jim at jimguthrie.org. And last but not least, thank you so much for listening to this episode with Christine Fellows. If you're a big fan of Christine's, I hope you gain some insight into her new works. If you're just discovering Christine, I hope this compels you to check out her new album, Stuff We All Get, and her remarkable back catalog. She's lovely and so talented. It's so nice. So yeah, thank you for this and that, and for subscribing to this podcast and following it and telling your friends all about it and all those sorts of things. It helps when you spread the word about it. And that's all I got to say. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you very soon. Goodbye for now.